And what I'm trying to do is show you natural climate, and natural climate ebbs and flows. If you're thinking Western, and I think we all do around here, it's always moving like a horse. And you know how it is? If you don't match the movements of the horse, you're going to fall off. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to tell you how things are moving. First of all, as you may have noticed, winter was, shall we say, a little brisk. What happened is we had an extremely cold winter because of volcanoes. There were 2 volcanoes that went off in 2011 in the poles. And they put so much dust and debris into the atmosphere that they cooled off the poles. And when that cold polar air hit us, I mean, any year where polar vortex becomes a household word, you know you're in trouble. It's going to create a volatile spring. Something else I talked about. The oceans make up 70% of the Earth. When you're talking about climate, the oceans are not the elephant in the room. They're the room. We're in it. And the Atlantic Ocean is really hot. And this is a long-term heating trend. And what it does is it creates hotter summers and stormier winters, springs, and falls. So we are in a long-term cycle of more extreme weather where it's hotter in the summer and tends to get colder in the winter. And then exciting in between. The next thing to look at is the Pacific. The Pacific is 30% of the globe's surface. Right now, the Pacific is neutral, but it's in the process of change. According to scientists, they are saying 50% statistically. When you talk to them, and I talk to them, they say 60%, and I think it's closer to 80%, chance of summertime El Nino conditions. And when you have summertime El Nino conditions, it brings rain. And if it turns into a full-scale El Nino, it brings a lot of rain. But for the summertime, we're talking about good rains for central and western Texas as the overall pattern, but unfortunately, not so much for the Gulf, Panhandle, and Louisiana border. It's when the El Nino develops and gets stronger that you really start seeing the rain. So, even if there's an El Nino, it's not the end to everybody's problems in the summer. But I'll go into that more. Finally, this has been the long-term message, and I've been telling your group since, I think since the 90s. We are in a trend where the Pacific, 30% of the globe's surface, has changed. There's a cycle called the PDO, Pacific Decadal Oscillation. Now, I just talked to the Cowboy Hall of Fame, so I said if you want to remember PDO, think pretty dry Oklahoma. And it has changed. It started to change in 1999, and it tipped in 2006. And it is creating drier conditions here in the Southwest. But not just the Southwest. It is destabilizing rain patterns, and with it, agriculture worldwide. And the good news is you have a better infrastructure than most of your competitors in the rest of the world.